오늘 제목이 글로벌 영재학교 인재 육성법인데 여러분들 잘 아시는 대로 이제 뭐 여러 가지 경제적인 문제, 환경, 기후 변화 등 세계적인 여러 가지 이슈들이 우리가 당면하는 문제들인데 결국 두 가지로 해결할 수밖에 없는 것 같습니다. 첫째는 이제 우수인재 양성, 두 번째는 과학기술의 발전을 통해서 극복할 수밖에 없는 것 같습니다. 2010년 또 그 이후에 여러 가지 외국에서도 한국을 평가함에 있어서 상당히 우려를 나타내고 있고, 특히 월스트리트저널에서는 한국의 기적은 이제 끝났다. 이제 산업사회에 적용했던 그런 방법들은 더 이상 먹히지 않는다. 그렇기 때문에 어렵지만 근본적인 변화를 하지 않으면 살아갈 수 없을 발전할 수 없을 것이라는 경고를 이미 2010년에 해줬습니다. 그리고 얼마 전에 OECD에서도 2031년에 한국의 성장률을 이제 보면서 잠재 성장률이 연간 1%로 굉장히 급감하게 되고, 그것이 OECD 34개국 중 33위로 굉장히 빠른 속도로 하락할 것이라는 경고가 있습니다. 이 이유는 저출산 고령화로 생산 인구가 급감하게 되고, 아시는 대로 2020년만 돼도 고등학교 졸업생 수가 지금보다 한 40%가 줄기 때문에 우리에게 우수한 인재들을 확보하는 일, 특히 양의 문제가 아니라 질적으로 우수한 인재를 확보하는 일은 매우 중요한 일이기도 합니다. 어떻게 보면 중요하다기보다 굉장히 우리가 심각하게 받아들일 하나의 위기의 조짐으로 받아들이고, 그래서 이제 영재로서 잠재력이 있는 학생들을 우리가 발굴하고 그 역량을 최대로 발전시켜 나가는 것은 개인은 물론 우리나라, 더 나아가서 지구촌의 여러 가지 발전을 위해서 매우 중요한 사안이라고 생각합니다. 아시는 대로 역사적으로 봐도 우리 사회의 큰 변화는 소수에 의해서 이루어져 왔습니다. 최근만 보더라도 스티브 잡스, 빌 게이츠, 마크 저커버그 같은 소수의 영재들이 인류의 미래를 바꿔가고 있고, 역사적으로 좀 뒤돌아보더라도 에디슨이나 아인슈타인이나 또 오늘의 컴퓨터 시대를 열기한 수리 논리학자 괴데를 보더라도 몇 명의 그 소수의 인재들이 역사의 흐름들을 바꿔놨고 오늘의 세계를 만들었고 또 미래를 준비하도록 하고 있습니다. 그런데 이 영재들, 다시 말해 스티브 잡스나 빌 게이츠, 마크 저커버거들 보면 이분들이 어떻게 체계적으로 영재 교육을 받았는지는 모르겠지만 그 미국이란 나라는 세계 최대 영재 교육을 하는 국가로 지금 되어 있고 역사가 한 120년 이미 된 걸로 알려져 있습니다. 그리고 또 이 세 분은 또 유대인이라는 공통점이 있는데 이스라엘이 결국 또 가장 체계적인 영재 교육을 잘하는 나라로 되어 있기 때문에 우리가 역사가 한 10년밖에 안 돼 우리나라 입장에서는 더욱더 분발해서 영재들 교육을 더욱더 확실하게 발전시켜 나가는 매우 중요하다고 생각합니다. 우리나라는 2000년에 영재교육진흥법이 제정 공포되었고 2003년에 과학영재고등학교가 처음 나타나기 시작한 10년 됐습니다. 그리고 지난 10월 2일에는 제3차 종합계획이 발표돼서 정부도 굉장히 체계적으로 진행을 해나가고 있습니다. 우리나라 영재교육은 세 단계로 되어 있습니다. 영재학급, 영재교육원, 영재학교, 초등단계, 중등단계, 고등단계로 이렇게 되어 있는데 현재 영재학급은 한 2,600여 반으로 되어 있고 영재교육원 한 335개로 되어 있고 영재학교는 25개로서 현재 한 12만 명의 학생들이 참여하고 있고 이것은 전체 학생 중에 1.87%에 해당되는 숫자가 되겠습니다. 아무튼 오늘의 이제 영재교육의 이 세션은 우리나라가 특히 아이디어와 혁신이 중요한 창조 경제 시대에 살고 있는데 어떻게 하면은 선진적인 역할을 하고 있는 영재교육들을 다른 나라의 영재교육들을 어떻게 우리가 받아들이고 배우고 또 우리 걸 발전시킬지 오늘의 만남들이 매우 중요하다고 생각합니다. 한 가지 여러분 부탁드리고 싶은 것은 이분들이 발표를 한 30분 내지 35분 정도 하실 것이고 한 20여 분 충분한 저희가 토론 시간을 갖도록 하려고 합니다. 질문들을 많이 좀 준비를 해 주시고 특히 소위 세 가지 관점에서 여러분이 준비해 주셨으면 좋겠는데 인풋 요소, 어떻게 선발하는가 하는 문제, 프로세스, 교육 내용과 질, 방식들은 어떻게 효과적으로 하고 있는지, 그 다음에 세 번째 아웃컴의 문제입니다. 이 성과의 문제는 어떻게 바라보고 있는지, 어떻게 그것이 우리 사회에 임팩트를 주고 있는지, 또 이러한 그 영재교육이 가능하게 하는 문화는 어떻게 형성에 대해서 이것에 도움이 되고 있는지 이런 관점에서 많은 시사점들을 같이 찾아봤으면 합니다. 그러면 이제부터는 제 말씀 이 정도로 정리를 하고 발표자들께 부탁드리겠습니다. 첫 번째 스피커는 프로페서 리차드 싱클레어입니다. 이분은 노스 텍사스 대학의 수학과학 아카데미에 지금 딘으로서 수고하신데 자료에서도 보시겠지만 많은 열정을 가지고 계신 분입니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 싱클레어 교수를 환영해 주시기 바랍니다. 프로페서 싱클레어.
Thank you, Dr. Min, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to be here presenting to you, and it's my first trip to Korea. I've enjoyed it very much so far. Dr. Min was kind enough just prior to this session to explain some of the details of gifted education in Korea. And so what I'd like to present to you is a rather unique model for enhancing the education of some of our most gifted students who are interested in mathematics and science. This experiment has been continuing for 26 years and has proven to be very, very successful. Historically, in the 1970s, it was recognized that there were not very many young Americans majoring in mathematics, science, and engineering. And so there were math and science high schools, particularly, created to bring these students together to enhance the curriculum, to get them excited about math and science. They were mostly day programs, particularly on the East Coast of the United States, some of them very famous schools. The problem was that they were only available to students who lived in those areas. And so the next step was to develop residential math and science high schools so that students could enjoy this experience, but from a wider area. In particular, it would be that particular state in which the school was located. These schools were another step forward. They provided an enhanced curriculum. Many of the faculty of these schools were PhDs, but one thing that we discovered at my university was that it was still a high school. There were many, many students who we thought were able to take university courses at an early age. They didn't really need to take high school courses. They could move along more quickly. And so in 1987, the Texas Academy of Mathematics and Science was established. And the concept was that the students would take all university courses, no high school courses. They leave high school behind and actually enter the University of North Texas as early entry university students. But their life outside the classroom was very much like in a residential high school, so that there would be age-appropriate policies, age-appropriate rules, and very much supervision. The initial class, and it was an experimental class because this is the first time this was attempted, was 88 students. They were admitted in 1988. In 1990, the experiment seemed to be successful, so the entering classes were increased to 200 students. And at this time, we have a student population at the Academy of 374 students. That is just slightly over 1% of the university's student population. The students are 45% female and 55% male. That division is the result of the residence hall in which the students live. It was built in about 1963, and so it is not designed for the academy, and so there will be more of one gender or the other, but we've seen an increasing number of applications from girls for the academy, so I suspect in a year or two we'll see those percentages reversed. Now, I want to address the financial issues around the academy because this is a very important point, because anybody who wants to use this model or parts of this model has to be concerned with the costs. We provide to each student a full scholarship for tuition, fees, and books. So Fundamentally, they are taking 2 years of university work at no cost for tuition, fees, or books. The funds are provided by the state of Texas. The room, meals, and personal expenses are the responsibility of the family. If you look at some of the residential high schools in the United States, they're actually very, very expensive because they have to hire their own faculty. They pay the room and board for the students, and so the cost of running those academies can be 4 or 5 times the cost of ours in Texas. It's important to understand that I do not have faculty. I do not hire faculty, and that's usually the most expensive item on the budget. Because they are university students, they are eligible for financial aid, government grant assistance, and loans. We have some families that have essentially zero income for tax purposes. They're very poor. And because they receive a significant amount of government assistance, and we include some room and board assistance from our own budget. So not having money is not a bar to attending the academy. So this is a very important concept because it's an intellectually elite group, but not a financially elite group. Another financial benefit is because these students are taking 2 years of university courses, that they can subsequently graduate from college in just 2 years. This is a significant financial savings to the students. It's not the reason they should attend the academy, but it is an important part of it. And in fact, many of the students, as you can imagine, want to attend the elite private universities in the United States. For example, Stanford University, the tuition now is $65,000 a year. And so if you can graduate from Stanford in less than 4 years, it's quite a significant savings. So to be a good student, to be admitted to the academy, and then go on to another university can save a family a great deal of money. The program is all residential. All students live in the Academy Residence Hall, even if it's the child of a faculty member who lives across the street from the campus. They must live in the residence hall. We want them to learn to live independently at a little earlier age. You know, the attrition rate for first-year students in universities in the United States is about 33%. Making that adjustment from the structure of high school and living at home with parents to living independently on a university campus, sometimes thousands of miles away from home, is very, very difficult. And so we work hard with the students to help them with that transition, and teaching them in a structured way to live independently away from their parents at 16 years old is a very important part of our program. We want them to develop time management skills. Once more, if you look at the reason that first-year university students fail, it's very often because they don't have poor time management skills, they have none. Because they were led by the hand in high school, by their teachers and by their parents, and they really didn't have to manage their own time. We want them to learn to live with another person, to develop negotiating skills, to be able to live in a small college dormitory room with somebody from 600 miles away from the other side of Texas. Somebody who is very different from them can be quite an experience and an important growth experience. We like to joke that this is training for marriage. Maybe it is. And so what we've done with these students is created a wonderful transition from the structure of high school to the freedom and independence of the university. And again, many American university students, and it may be the same worldwide, I'm not sure, but don't make that transition very easily. They don't quite understand how to study for a university exam or how to live with a roommate or any of those things, and they fail. And our students get this wonderful transition so that when they move on to another university, regardless of where it is, they do very, very well. They become veteran college students at 18 years old. They know how to study. They know how to approach a professor. They know how to live in a dormitory room. they know how to wash laundry. This is an important skill. And they know how to feed themselves. And it is amazing to me that how poorly they will eat in the college dorm. Now, the curriculum is a balanced science curriculum, and that means that they are required to take the highest level introductory course in a science. So they will take the biology course that the biology majors take, the chemistry course that chemistry majors take. They will take engineering physics. This is the course that the engineers and physics majors take. We want to expose them to these intense courses to see if, in fact, they would like to do this with their lives, if they'd like to continue in this area, and to see if they're any good at it. I want to emphasize that at the Academy, there are no high school courses. There are no high school teachers. The Academy students are taking all regular and honors university classes, and they are taught by the regular university faculty. I do not employ the faculty. They're not my responsibility. The students are taking courses as any university student would. They don't have special teachers. They are in class with the other university students, and so you see a change in their demeanor, in their maturity very rapidly as they transition from being a 10th grader in high school, being a 16-year-old in high school, to now being a freshman in college. And so they very quickly adapt the demeanor and mannerisms of an older student. It happens within about a month, and the only way that we're able to really discern, to tell our students, is that they tend to go everywhere in groups because they are all taking the same classes. But otherwise, they begin to look and act just like university students. They are required to take a curriculum over the 2 years of 57 semester credit hours. And the curriculum, as I said, is structured. All of the students take the same curriculum with some minor exceptions, and then they have the opportunity to take elective courses from anything the university has to offer. The University of North Texas is a research university with 36,000 students. It has an extensive curriculum available to the Academy students, and so they enjoy many of those courses. Specifically, they must take 2 semesters of honors biology, and of course with a laboratory, 2 semesters of general or honors chemistry with a lab, engineering physics for 2 semesters. They will take mathematics through Calculus 2 or higher if they choose to do so. They will, and I mentioned that it's balanced, and it has a good balance with humanities, and I know that's very important for these students. They will take 2 semesters of a course that's writing about the great works of Western literature, discussing the issues in these great works in the class. Rather typical course. Actually, it's well above a typical freshman course. They will also take a 2-semester survey of world literature, 2 semesters of U.S. history, 1 semester of U.S. political science, and then in their mathematics, when they enter the program, they are all given a calculus-ready, open-ended mathematics exam to see where they need to be placed. Since many of the students are coming to us because they don't have enough mathematics courses in their high school, it's very important that we place them in a challenging course. So they may begin in a pre-calculus course, Calculus 1, Calculus 2, or beyond. Calculus 2 is required for completion of the curriculum. Some students will begin in the first semester with Calculus 2, and these students will, since they're good in mathematics, tend to take mathematics every semester. There are no electives allowed in the first semester. We want them to take the 4 courses of the structured curriculum. We want them to learn to study, to learn to take exams, and to learn to live in the university environment. And we want to watch them very carefully and provide assistance to them if they're having a problem making the adjustment. The university's grading is on a very typical 4-point scale. If at the end of the first semester a student is below a 3.5, below a B+, in the subsequent semester they're only allowed one elective. If that grade point average is above a 3.5, they are allowed 2 electives and only 2. They may not take more than that. And this, again, may be any course the university has to offer. It's their choice. We pay for that course, provide them the book, so it's up to them in what direction they want to go. Typically, economics is a very popular elective. Organic chemistry is popular for the pre-medical students. This group of students you might not expect to be very physically active. They weren't necessarily the athletes back in high school. Well, they were intellectual athletes. But physical education courses are very popular with them. Basketball, swimming, weightlifting, running, there are quite a few options for them. And we enjoy the fact that they're physically active. Language courses. The University of North Texas has the largest college of music in the United States and the largest college of art in the United States. And so the students take advantage of these fine arts courses to broaden their curriculum. Advanced biology courses are popular, and undergraduate research is a very popular course with the students. Again, the university grading is on a 4-point scale, and in order to continue at the academy, the students must make a minimum of a 3.0 or a B average. Below a 3.0, they're required to return to high school. We think that they're not quite ready to attempt courses like this, although we do provide significant academic support. We have 2 academic counselors. Each one follows a cohort of the students for 2 years. The academic counselor knows the grades the students make before the students do. The counselors are in constant contact with the parents to appraise the parents of the student's progress. They will direct the student to tutoring in any of the courses if that's necessary. Additionally, for the first semester students, we provide supplemental instruction in mathematics. It's very interesting that there are apparently some gaps, and maybe it's just in Texas, I don't know, but some gaps between what the students are learning in mathematics in high school and what they need for pre-calculus at the university level. And so we're providing them supplemental instruction to get over those gaps, but more importantly, it's providing data for us that we can then feed back to public education in Texas about why students who have excellent grades in mathematics in high school struggle so much in university mathematics. Each department at the university, and I think this is probably universal, has some sort of a assistance function. The mathematics department has a math lab which has graduate students who will assist students with a homework problem or a tough concept. The English department has a writing lab, and all the departments have some sort of assistance function. And of course the faculty are required to have office hours that they are there to assist the students. So we're very comfortable that the students are getting significant academic support, that all of that support is provided for them. And so to make a B average for such bright students, we think is a very reasonable requirement. TAMS is a program that creates young scientists for our nation. That's our very, very narrow focus. And we've been doing that now very successfully for a quarter century. Research by the students is strongly encouraged but not required. But the students do get to work with university faculty who are working at the state of the art in scientific areas. We have probably the best computational chemistry computational chemistry cluster in the United States. We're very far ahead in nanotechnology and material science, and so the students are able to actually work at the cutting edge of science. And we find that the faculty look forward to the academy students and very often tell us that the Academy students are better performers in the lab than advanced undergraduates or beginning graduate students. They're very bright, they're very focused, they're very excited and very motivated. So it's a good match for the faculty. They fully expect that they will have their quota of TAM students every year. We provide scholarships for the students during the summer between the first and second year for them to continue their research. And they can do that at our university, or they can do that at other universities, academic medical centers, and in many cases they will go to international sites during the summer to do research. So we're very research focused. Beside the obvious benefits of learning the scientific method and determining if that's what you want to do with your life, it also allows them to compete in prestigious national science competitions, both at the high school level and at the university level. And so this is a wonderful goal for the students. It is very important for their resumes, for their college applications, and it's a very positive thing for the university to be the recipient of many, many awards. Just 2 weeks ago, we received notice of the semifinalists in the Siemens competition in math, science, and technology. The Siemens competition considers itself to be the premier high school science competition in the United States. The Academy had more semifinalists than any other school in the United States. And that's significant because those math and science high schools I mentioned on the East Coast have faculty who are assigned to tutor the students in their applications. They have special classes for these students to take to submit these applications. And if our students who really are essentially submitting these applications on their own, if they are able to succeed so much and actually be the top school in the United States in this area, we know that we've got a mix of the right students and the right kind of experiences for them. So we're very proud of this. 2 additional students became regional finalists, and as I speak, they are in Austin, Texas, at the University of Texas in the regional competition to see who will go to the national competition. So I hope that when I return to Texas, I have some good news. Now, being gifted students, I think all of us in here know that they have significant social emotional needs. They're very sensitive, they're very thoughtful, they're very introspective. We know that gifted students as a group have a high suicide rate because they sometimes feel nobody understands them. They can't talk to friends about things. They want to talk about deep intellectual things, and it's very difficult for them, especially if they come from a small school in a rural community. And so it's very important to provide that social and emotional support. First of all, they have a strong intellectual peer group. For many of these students, for the first time in their lives, it's okay to be smart. You can be smart and you will not be criticized. It's particularly good for the girls. There is still a stigma in U.S. high schools, and I'm not sure if it's that way elsewhere, that being smart for a girl is not a socially popular thing. And so it is coming to the Academy where everybody is smart means that girls can come as well as the boys and develop into people. They can put that behind them and explore other areas of their life. So it's a very popular program for girls. It's very safe, it's very comforting, and very popular. We provide an array of extracurricular activities that would match a large high school. And in addition, our students can participate in virtually every university organization. This provides significant leadership development and personal growth development that students at this age need. We are publicly funded, so it's important for us to give back to the community. So we're very involved in community service. My student population of 374 students does 18,000 hours of community service every year. They help elderly people in the community, they tutor elementary school children, they work with disabled children, and, my favorite, they tutor the university students. We don't offer sports or band. This is a major university. If they want to be involved go to football games, the university provides that. And this is important, I think, in something I've emphasized to people in the United States who have copied this model, is that we have a full-time adolescent psychologist. This person is on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to provide personal support to these students during a very important and stressful time in their lives. We don't want to shortchange them. Remember, this is that gifted population that can become despondent and depressed very easily. They need that support. So we're very proud to have that. And we have an excellent record. Over the 25 years, we've actually never lost a student. Very pleased about that. So how do you get into this wonderful program? You have to be a Texas resident. It is publicly funded. At the current time, you have to be a Texas resident. We're working on maybe admitting other kinds of students. They take the SAT in the 10th grade and have to score as a Texas high school senior who's going to major in mathematics or science. So fairly high scores. They have to be an excellent student. Most of them are in the top 5% of their class, their high school class, or they're number one in their high school class. They have to demonstrate an interest in science and mathematics through science fairs, mathematics competitions, and the like. We interview each one of them on campus to try to understand why they want to make this major change at this point in their lives. And, of course, they have to be highly recommended. And we look for signs that they are exceptionally mature. This is probably the hardest thing with a 16-year-old, but we try. The outcomes are very positive. 55% then go on to attend selective universities in Texas. 45% go to the east and west coast of the United States to the prestige schools, the Ivy League, Johns Hopkins, and so on. Each cohort that graduates is offered about $9 million in scholarships, and this is significant for 160 or 170 students, and they'll accept between 4 and 5 million. And this is the most important thing to me as the administrator. The mandate from the state of Texas is to direct the brightest students in Texas into STEM careers. 85% of our graduates declare a major in mathematics, science, or engineering. A sizable portion of the 15% become public school teachers, which I think is a wonderful victory for us. You have these very, very bright, thoughtful young people teaching in the public schools. I enjoy that very much. We at this time have about 3,600 graduates, so we have continually refined the program so that it is very, very effective. So what's the future? There is discussion of a National Academy of Mathematics and Science based on the TAMS model, potentially housed at my university. The discussion's out there, we'll see. There have been programs developed on this model in other states, and I think that when the economic picture continues to improve in the U.S. and more money is available in the states for education, we will see more of these programs created. I don't think we'll see any more residential high schools. They're much too expensive. This is a much less expensive and more effective model. And of course, over the history of the program, there's been a significant interest internationally. We've had 2 groups of Korean educators visit us, looking at the program, trying to understand if this would fit in Korean education. And so that's a brief look at this well-tested, very effective model for accelerating the education of some of the brightest students in Texas. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 오늘 전체적으로 미국의 텍사스 아카데미의 모습을 보면서 우리 전체적인 그림을 새롭게 저희도 그려볼 수 있겠다 하는 생각이 좀 들었습니다. 그러니까 간단하게 요약드리면은 입학 단계에서 보면 이제 고등학교 1학년 마치고 바로 대학에서 한 2년간 훈련 받을 수 있도록 이제 받아들이는데 SAT와 그다음에 학교 성적 인터뷰를 통해서 이제 받아들이고 있고 교육 내용을 보면 상당히 균형 감각을 가지고 균형 잡힌 프로그램들을 진행하는 것 같습니다. 우선 이제 기숙사 생활하면서도 어떻게 다른 사람과 살아갈지에 대한 그것도 좀 가르치게 하고, 그 다음에 커리큘럼도 굉장히 단순히 수학, 과학 이런 영역이 아니라 인문학, 사회과학, 예술 여러 가지 영역들을 담도록 하였고, 특히 리서치를 중요하게 생각을 해서 여름방학 동안에 국내나 국외에서 리서치를 활발하게 해서 큰 또 성과들을 좀 보여주고 있다고 하고, 또 하나 우리가 주목해서 볼 것은 social emotional needs입니다. 다시 말해서 어떤 인성과 리더십 키우는 것도 중요하지만 세금으로 지원하는 것이기 때문에 어떻게 하면 그 커뮤니티에 기여할 수 있겠느냐 하는 그런 면에서 어떤 사람을 만들고 역량도 키우지만은 그 내용적인 면에서 그 새로운 가치와 문화를 형성해 나가도록 유도하는 일은 매우 중요한 일이라고 생각하고, 다만 3.0을 넘지 못하면 다시 고등학교로 돌아가야 되는 그런 엄격한 관리도 하고 있는 것 같습니다. 그리고 결국 성공적인 것은 한 85%가 이 이공계 쪽으로 간다고 하는 것이 상당히 성공적인 요소가 아닐까. 나중에 말씀드리겠습니다. 우리는 상당히 이런 면에서 아쉬움을 가지고 있겠습니다만, 아무튼 이러한 모든 전체적인 생태계가 정부나 또 대학이 또는 이제 고등학교 커뮤니티가 전체적으로 융합을 해서 정말 이 표현을 very exciting이라고 그랬는데 아주 exciting한 그런 프로그램들을 잘 만들어 가시는 것 같습니다. 감사합니다. 다시 한번 박수를 부탁드립니다. 다음번은 자료되어 있겠습니다만 싱가포르 대학에서 현재 이제 수학과학 고등학교를 운영하고 있는 항김후 교장 선생님입니다. 라스트 네임은 항이기 때문에 여러분 잘 기억해 주시기 바랍니다. 이분도 상당한 열정을 가지시고 많은 일을 해오고 계시는데 아주 기대되는 말씀을 주실 거라고 생각합니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you very much, Professor Min. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me to share about my school. Now, we are a high school, but that belongs to the National University of Singapore. It's relatively new. We are 9 years old. And I'll share with you the difference. How different we are from the rest of the Singapore high school from today's presentation. This is our motto. Right, this is our vision. Now, this high school is set up for two main reasons. One is to develop and educate the gifted students in maths and science, as well as an experiment for us to experiment and develop new pedagogies and assessment in learning. And with that, that means we do not follow the national curriculum. We design our own school-based curriculum. All right. Although it's a maths and science school, like all schools in Singapore, we're expected to provide holistic education, and therefore our mission, we still want to nurture well-rounded students who are ready, and we hope that they can become pioneers, achievers, thinkers, and humanitarians in future. Right. The school, the decision to set up a school was actually made only in 2003. Although the idea was floated in 1997. So it was many years later before, after which the government decided to set up a school. Work started in 2004, and we received our first batch of students in 2005. We are a 6-year program school. We admit students at year 1, which is about 12 plus, 13 years, and another group at about 15 years, 14, 15 years. And in 2006, we moved to our actual campus. We had the school's officially opened in 2007, and actually I'm the second principal of the school. The first principal was a chemistry professor who has returned to the university. In 2008, we had our first graduate. Now, I mentioned about the experimentation that we carry out in our school through our programs. One area in mathematics which we are spearheading in the nation is to promote mathematical modeling. So in 2008, we organized the first international mathematics challenge to bring in top students across the school for this competition. In 2009, we set up our own specialized research laboratories. I'll explain to you why we need them. In 2010, now this is, we are visited by various politicians and leaders because they pay very careful attention to the development of our school. In 2011, we established our overseas student academic programs. And of course, again, we are visited by our education minister and the president last year. All right. So I've mentioned that we are part of NUS, so we are an independent school that's publicly funded, and therefore it means that I have the autonomy to hire my own staff and faculty. That's the difference. All right, so I have to manage my own fund and how to spend the money and prioritize. And to help me, I have a board of governors and a board of directors to oversee the operations of the school. This is basically the organizational structure. I have mentioned that one of the mandate, I would like to highlight that now we are designated a Center for Curriculum Leadership in Maths and Science in Singapore, as well as the West Zone. We have 4 zones in Singapore, so we are the West Zone Center of Excellence for Maths and West Zone Center of Excellence for Science and Research. And right now, after 9 years, we are already promoting different teaching and learning pedagogies and practices across all schools in Singapore. Now, very quickly, for those who are familiar with Singapore systems, I think you know, but I will just briefly mention to you. On the left-hand side, this is where most of the mainstream schools operate. At the secondary level, there are 4 years of secondary education, after which they sit for a national exam called the GCO level exams. And then now 2 years before they sit for the GCA level exams before proceeding to university. In 2004, a group of schools was identified called the integrated program schools. Students in these schools skip the one examination so that they'll go on to sit for only one final exam. All right? So you can see that our government, what we are trying to do is to remove the stress of examination, because we also have a situation where there's a tendency where many teachers may teach to the test and everybody just work very hard to do well exams. In our case, we don't have any national exams. So our students actually go through our course, go through our courses, and we have our own assessment modes, and they graduate with our diploma called the NUS High School Diploma. And while here, when they are ready, they actually can attend university courses at the National University of Singapore so that they can earn credits at the university level. So that's our school system. I'll explain to you, of course, how we go about the NUS recognition of our diploma. Right. Unlike Korea, you have 100,000 gifted students. We take in only a maximum of 170. But so far, we are able to receive only 150 students at year 1, and another inject of maximum 70 students, but normally it's about 50. And these 50 will include the gifted maths and science students from overseas. So overall, we have a population of about 1,100 right now, over 6 years. Now, how do we recruit students? Students admission, we admit students directly. In Singapore, all primary school students after 6 years have to sit for a national exam at primary 6. And that exam is used for placement to the secondary schools. But for our school, we can admit students directly. And how do we do it? We actually administer our maths and science test as a first cut, after which a shortlisted group of students attend a camp. We call it a science camp, right? And then including the portfolio which they submit, we get to know the students, we form a picture of students, and we admit the number, offer a number of 153, that's 90%. The remaining small number of places were offered to students who come in via the national exams. Right. So similarly, we have a process at year 3, except that there's no camp. We have an interview. Right. Our staff, we have 122 teachers. We have about 60% holding a master's and PhD degrees. Now, the 6-year program is broken into a 2-2-2 structure with the first 2 years as foundation years, next 2 years advancement, and the final 2 years called specialization. We employ a modular systems, and then students are assessed via modular grades, just like our local university systems. And the modules include the core modules where all students have to pass. Elective modules are optional, but they're graded, and this usually built on the core to give deeper understanding to the subject. And then the enrichment modules provide the breadth to cater to students' interests. Now, this slide is just to show you the relative amount of time given to maths and science. You can see in the first 2 years, more than half are for the non-maths and science courses. It's only from the advancement year and the specialization year where more than half of the curriculum time is given to the maths and science subjects. Now let me explain how we do it. So broadly, the curriculum, in the first 4 years, there are core modules in maths, biology, chemistry, and physics, which all students must do. All right? And on top of this, we have elective courses in computing studies, robotics, astronomy, and earth science. Now, we have not introduced earth science because we are still thinking of how this can be sustainable based on the resources that we have. Right? We require our students to actually do a core group of humanities over the 4 years that covers integrated humanities, art, music, geography, history, English literature, and economics. And languages as well, English language, all over 6 years. And in Singapore, we have a mother tongue policy, so we follow the government policy in requiring all our students to study the mother tongue subject, second language. And we do provide a third language courses, especially in Japanese and French for our students. Effective character education as well. That's something that we cannot ignore, especially for kids and students of our type. Physical education, physical training in sports, co-curricular activities that cover a range of activities from uniform groups, sports, performing groups, and clubs and societies. And a key feature of our program is our Research Innovation Enterprise program that lasts for 6 years, right? And unlike the Texas, completing an advanced research project is compulsory for all our students. It's a graduation requirement. And in year 5, they are required to board. So we have a boarding program for reasons that's similar to the Texas Academy. And also to facilitate at year 5, because at year 5 they have commenced the advanced research project. They are required to work together more often. So the boarding will facilitate this. Now, in the final 2 years specialization, maths is compulsory, so all students are required to specialize maths and 2 other sciences, and that's sufficient for them to graduate. But they can opt for a 4th major that cover a 3rd science, or humanities, art, music, computing studies, and so on. Now, an example of chemistry, how the chemistry module is structured. Essentially, we cover all the high school syllabuses by the end of year 4 and part of year 5. And when they complete the major, now we have specialization with major, all right? That will usually bring them into the first year of university courses. And for some students who are interested, there's a major with honors that can reach the 2nd year of university courses. So this is an example for chemistry. For electives, these are some of the electives for chemistry. Medicine chemistry at year 5, polymer chemistry, year 3. I'm more familiar with mathematics. An example for electives in mathematics will be linear algebra, group theory, number theory, optimization, decision science, advanced multivariate calculus, and so on. So these are the courses that our students get to read. Right. The pedagogy that we actually experiment goes beyond the classroom. So it's a lot of experiential inquiry, field trips, hands-on experimentation, and so on. Now, how are we different from the schools in Singapore? In general, our students learn more than peers. They can learn at their own pace because we allow for acceleration. They can read the university modules while they're with us. And occasionally we get some of these gifted students mentored by the university professors in projects and research. So this is a slide to illustrate that we have, we can allow students to go on a fast track in some subjects. Right. So from 2007 to this year, we have a total of 269 students who have actually completed university modules. You can see from this chart that we have 2 students who are 13 years old who already attend year 1 university modules. We have 4 students who are 15 years old and actually completing year 3 university modules at the National University of Singapore. And usually most of these students will get a grade of at least a B+, A-, or A. Now, I have mentioned about our Research Innovation Enterprise Program. It's a structured 6-year program. In the first 4 years, we have structured programs that covers what we call our Da Vinci Foundation. That's an innovation program. Design and engineering, creative problem solving, scientific presentation, research methodology, seminar series, and they can embark on some research projects early, right, before year 5. And finally, when they're ready, we actually require our students to get onto the advanced research project. And we have many research scientists and partners across Singapore, including the universities, the research institutions, the hospitals, and so on, for them to work with our students in these research projects. Now, even among all the gifted students in maths and science, there's a group that's exceptionally gifted, and therefore we have the Einstein Plus, what we call the Einstein Plus program, where every one of them has an individualized education plan. And activities include academic mentoring, independent study, and all the seminars that you attend with a few medalists and Nobel laureates that we invite to our school every year. Well, this chart should show you that a complete picture of what we try to do. Besides the academic programs, we have our co-curricular activities. And in Singapore, we are now emphasizing the development of 21st century competencies, and also the special emphasis on developing social emotional competencies in our students as well. So many of these are actually infused into the teaching strategies, programs, and activities across the whole school. Internationalization. We want our students to be ready to be exposed, to be familiar with what's happening across the world, to be with the best in the world. So we provide opportunities for students on exchange, to go on exchange and research programs. We have networking and benchmarking with 45 top schools from 22 countries. And I've mentioned earlier the overseas student academic programs, where we can learn from the best. So some examples. All right, this slide should show you the places where we have a connection with. Now, in South Korea, we have 2 schools that we collaborate. One that we work very closely for many years now is Korean Science Academy of KAIST, and the other one is Seoul Science High School. So some of these overseas student academic program, including program at CERN, that is the European Large Hadron Collider, that recently announced the existence of Higgs boson. We have overseas medical attachment, neurophysiology in Germany, and this is CERN as well. So we have programs for our students in many parts of the world. Now, some of the outcomes. We hope to develop some peaks of excellence in the area of maths and science in Singapore. So these are some of our achievements. For example, in the 6 years from 2008 to 2013, when our students were ready to participate, we have so far had students winning 14 gold medals, 19 silver medals, and 10 bronze medals at international maths, physics, chemistry, and biology Olympiads to date. That's about half the nation's medals. I've mentioned about students' research projects, so there are various level of achievement, but we had 28 of them published at internationally refereed journals today, 28 of them, and 25 of them accepted for conference presentations. So some of these research projects are at a pretty high standards. Our students publish books. We have 4 books that published by our students. All right, the first one is on maths and science games in leadership. I understand that this has been translated into Chinese and so in China now. Chem Magics for chemistry. And 6 quantum physics is actually written by 2 of our girls on quantum physics, and actually they are used as texts in university now. So we have our students who are actually at high school writing these books with the university professors. And the latest book is the brain book on neuroscience. And this is the work done by a group of our students with the university professor in physiology. We regularly have students representing Singapore at the ISEF in these 4 years. All right, something about diploma. That's something that was very challenging when we started the school. We decided to embark on our own curriculum and our own diploma. So the question is, who would recognize our diploma? All right, so I will share with you the strategies we had. But very quickly, we are very new. And in order to ensure that our diploma of a certain level, we have this option to allow our students to sit for the SAT and the US College Board AP examination. It's optional, but 90%, at least 90% of every cohort sits for the AP exam. This is to allow us to see our students' quality of learning using the AP examination as a benchmark. And we track the results over the last 5 years, and these are the average across all the various subjects. So this is a baseline for our student graduates. So we are quite happy. I think that helps us, that we are on right track. All right? So one subject, BC, we still have perfect score till today. Right, we got our curriculum accredited by the National University of Singapore and our Ministry of Education. All right, completed. And then they were recognized by our 4 major local universities. We visited the top universities in UK, US, and Australia. These are the universities I visited in UK. And actually, all these universities had recognized us, our diploma now. In other words, our student can join the UK university just using a diploma without the A-levels. And these are the universities we visited with in US. All right. And today, after 9 years, our diploma is recognized by universities worldwide. Now, how do we do it? First, it's very easy. We get the top university to recognize. They give us a letter, and we ask for permission to use these letters to be sent to the rest of the universities in the world, and that's what we did. All right? So, well, this is to show you that now, coincidentally, our first cohort, we had 88 students who graduated, just like the 88 students who just joined Texas Academy. All right? Of course, majority will be given a place to NUS, our National University of Singapore. All right? We have many of our students going to UK, about 50 every year to Imperial College, another 50 to University College London, another 10 to 15 to Cambridge and Oxford University. So that more or less gives you the examples an illustration of where our students move on to, besides our local universities. 40 to 55% of our graduates actually will go overseas. Right. So far, we have been trying to track where our students were. Our first cohort graduates, right, one of them has actually become a businessman. He has opened up 2 companies. Some joined the civil service, others joined medicine and doing medical research, and we have one girl with Google. All right? I do know that for the first cohort of the girls who have graduated, about half of them are doing their PhD now. All right, so that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
네, 대단히 감사합니다. 우리 한 교장 선생님은 특히 이제 커리큘럼이나 스페셜 프로그램들 굉장히 자세하게 설명을 주셨는데, 그 과목 중에서 키친 케미스트리도 상당히 또 재밌을 것 같은 생각이 들었습니다. 그 보니까 슬라이드가 43장이 있는데 아마 빨리 지나가서 다 캐치를 못 하셨을 텐데 여러분이 이 글로벌 HR 포럼에 홈페이지 들어가시면 이 슬라이드를 2개 다 받으실 수 있습니다. 보시면서 자세하게 참고해 주시면 좋겠고요. 지금 우리 황 교장 선생님 말씀하신 것처럼 상당히 그 텍사스 아카데미하고도 상당히 유사하게 이제 저희가 볼 수 있겠습니다만 기본적으로 이제 이 텍사스 아카데미는 어떻게 고등학교 2, 3학년 정도 레벨 학생들을 이제 대학에서 훈련시키는 프로그램이라고 하면 지금 이제 싱가포르에서 지금 하시고 있는 것은 중고등학교 단계에 6년 동안 이제 키우는 작업으로 자세한 그 내용들을 거기에 적절하게 말씀해 주신 것 같습니다. 특히 역량도 중요하지만 패션을 굉장히 중요하게 생각하고 입학 단계에서도 인터뷰 과정에서 그런 것을 중요하게 이제 본다는 말씀을 하셨고 특히 그 궁극적인 목적 중에 하나가 어떻게 보면 pioneer, achiever, thinker, humanitarian을 이제 만들어내는 이제 그러한 관점에서 이제 목표를 두셨고 입학 단계에서도 여기서도 상당히 뭐 경쟁이 치열한 것 같습니다만 자체적인 테스트도 있고 아까 말씀드린 이 역량과 이 열정을 이렇게 평가할 수 있는 그룹 액티비티 과정도 있고 고등학교에서의 교육 과정에서의 이제 초등학교에서의 교육 과정에서의 역량도 중요하게 보는 것 같습니다. 그 내용에 있어서도 그 러닝 인바이러먼트를 어떻게 만들어 가느냐에 대한 초점을 많이 맞추셨고 그래서 학생들의 역량을 옵티마이즈하는 이제 그런 관점에서 많은 프로그램들을 진행하는데 여기도 마찬가지로 리서치, 여러 가지 익스피리언스 이런 것들을 강조를 하고 계시고 특히 하여튼 계속해서 이제 패션을 이제 강조를 많이 하시는 것 같습니다. 그리고 마찬가지로 인문사회과학적인 측면에서 예술적인 측면에서의 다양한 균형 잡힌 그런 역량들을 어떻게 만들어 가도록 하느냐. 또한 다빈치 프로그램이라는 게 일종의 가장 핵심적인 프로그램으로 말씀을 하시면서 리서치, 이노베이션 앤 엔터프라이즈를 이제 융합하는 이제 그런 관점에서의 그 말씀을 해 주셨습니다. 아무튼 두 분 이제 말씀을 드리면서 여러 가지 우리 초중등 단계에서 또는 대학 단계에서 어떻게 우리가 어프로치해야 될지에 대해서 많은 시사점도 주시고 또 우리가 가지고 있는 여러 가지 한계, 문화 이런 것들도 보면서 어떻게 하면 우리가 새로운 방향으로 엮어 나가야 되는가 하는 그런 시사점들도 많이 얻을 수 있는 것 같습니다. 이제 지금부터는 우리가 시간이 좀 충분히 있는 것 같습니다. 12시 반까지 한 25분 정도 가지고 있는데 활발하게 이제 질문을 해주시고 질문하실 때 본인 소개 간단하게 해주시고 핵심을 중심으로 해서 또 특히 어느 분이 답변해 주시면 좋겠다는 게 계시면 직접 명확하게 지정을 해주시면 진행하는 데 도움이 되겠습니다. 예, 이게 막 손이 막 올라갑니다. 이게 제 진행을 위해서 한 3분 정도를 모아서 정리하고 이런 식으로 가겠습니다.
Thanks for your impressive lecture and the introduction for the great high schools around the world. Well, my name is Taewon, and I'm currently the sophomore year undergraduate student in Yonsei University, where Professor Min teaches us. And I'm a major in School of Business, but I got a younger brother who just argued whether to send him to the United States for the studies abroad. I just argued that with my parents last night. So I got several inquiries and questions regarding about development, how to develop the student abilities in high school, as well as in academic abilities, as well as the mental abilities should be balanced, which are the two. So the couple of questions that I'd like to ask Mr. Sinclair was whether it is considered desirable their parents or the family members would intervene to provide the psychological support and relaxation while they're or far away from their home for study. And the second question that I'd like to ask is, would there be any particular characteristic could be found in the excelling students, make students more adaptable for the unfamiliar circumstances and environments?
자, 또 질문을 하나 더 받겠습니다. 계시죠? 예. 예, 다른 분도 주세요. 예, 예, 저기 앞에.
Hi, I am a student who are majoring in computer science in Korea University, and it was really impressive lecture that I could get lots of knowledge about the program for gifted students. As I was act as a teacher while I was an intern in a middle school, I thought that learning situation makes students quite passive, the learning situation as that it is. So what is the strategy do we have to pursue to pull students out of the passive zone?
두 분 하고 가겠습니다. 질문들이 많아서. Okay, please. Professor or
This last question is the universal question. I think it's very difficult. To address the first, are you asking for a student who's going to go to possibly go to the U.S.? Well, it's considerably better today than it used to be because the students still have instant communication. I think whereas a few years ago they didn't. And you have to understand, Texas is a very large state, and a student could be 600 miles from their family at that young age. And so, of course, the way we approach that is to provide a significant amount of support. And I think that's what I think you said for your brother possibly, or anybody that's going to go to another nation. I think that's something you have to look at very carefully at that institution they're going to attend, is what sort of support service is there for the international student. Because I think most universities are set up now to provide significant kind of support with international student organizations and events and things of that nature, so that there's that personal support that's so important when moving on to a different culture. So that would be the key thing. And I think the strongest characteristic, the most important characteristic for success anywhere is persistence. I think is to not let anything stop you, to be very persistent. That's a key characteristic of the successful student and the successful entrepreneur is persistence. So I hope I addressed your question.
If there is a kind of psychological support, you said that there is a all-day resident psychologist supports for the mental support for the students, whether just to prevent them to go on a suicide or to prevent the accidents happen. But I think there are some other kinds of special support that the students might expect from their family members, except from the experts on the mental disabilities or things. So how much do you think, in which proportion, that the parents would intervene would be desirable to when the students are far away from home to pursue their academic achievements?
Okay, I understand your question now. Well, using my experience, again, many of our students are from very, very far away, we encourage constant communication with the parents. We encourage the parents to, we're not taking the child away. We're encouraging the parents to come and visit as often as they can, to stay in constant communication. We're communicating with the parents all the time about the status of that child, how they're doing socially, how they're doing academically. We are very much in their world all of the time. And I think that's the key thing. We certainly have parents that are too involved, the classic umbrella parent, that they're much too involved, and they're accustomed to that because that's how they did it with the children in high school. And then they find to try to do that at a university, they meet some resistance with that. But it's a matter of being sensitive, I think, with the parents to try to help them find ways. Now, for somebody that's going to be 10,000 miles away. I mean, that's a difficult situation. And again, I think it takes some careful research in terms of what support might be available in that area. Is there a you know, if somebody's coming from Korea, is there a Korea association? Are there Korean families that will entertain that student on the holidays and weekends so they feel more at home? Again, it's doing some research, I think, is the key. Now for the tough question. Motivating students is, I mean, that's anybody here who's in education knows that's the key issue, and it takes just a very it takes a very dedicated teacher. It takes parents who are understanding of what it takes to motivate and encourage the child, and that's often difficult to find. I don't really have the answer for it. I know that we try with our students, since we're their parents, that we are constantly trying to motivate them and encourage them, and we don't overpraise them. I mean, they have to earn it, but we know they know that we're there as their adults, their support, and we try to provide them with opportunities that will excite them. And that's the key, really, to this educational enterprise is for us to provide things that encourage and motivate the students. But I don't have a universal answer for you. I'm sorry.
Maybe I address the second question. I think in Singapore, I am more fortunate because for 10 years now, there is a national focus and movement for all schools in Singapore, right from pre-primary all the way to senior high school, to move away from passive to active learning. So I have the advantage where many of these students coming to me, I don't think they can take to passive learning anymore. But I have to say that when they're too active, you have other type of problems. But I will share with you how we go. Maybe I give you a very short answer. I think we didn't do everything and create the strategies ourselves. I will share with you where we have learned from. And then maybe you can find the sources of help. For many years, we actually have studied the deep research done in the United States, in the UK and Australia. And we actually closely look at these strategies and translate them into our context. We do not learn from one country. For example, our mathematics curriculum, we actually study the Hungarian systems. We are also very familiar with China. We have visited Chinese classrooms taught by master classes and have observed these strategies, and we try to emulate them and create our own strategy in our schools. All right, so we study from everybody else and then integrate. Now, the passive learning, I can give a partial reason for it because I think in our country, if it's passive, it's because it comes from an examination-driven system. And we know that the paper and pen examination system do not necessarily test everything. And if these examination scores are high stake, then teachers, very experienced, will find a shortcut way to arrive at the results efficiently and quickly. And quite often, it means you tell them, you teach them, you cover many materials in a short time. And that requires the time. And therefore, the best way, efficient way, is to get students to pay attention and keep quiet. But what is lost is actually the process of learning, which is equally important, but usually not covered in a paper and pen test. So in our school, how do we are given the flexibility. One would be the activities that you actually carry out in the classroom is designed to facilitate naturally, where students have to be actively engaged. And then the assessment is authentic as possible. So we have in our modules a lot of authentic assessment, not just paper and pen exams. We have some courses that are completely coursework. So that will help change the habits and practices in the classroom by both the teachers and the students. Now, let me give an example of science, physics and chemistry, and biology. We have a very simple guiding principle. When we want to teach a certain topic or a concept, we ask ourselves, and we want our students to learn this way. This discovery Where did it come from? How do the scientists arrive at this discovery? So we replicate a process. That replication will require students to carry out fundamental experiments, collect data, and then make sense of the data and come to a conclusion. The next phase will be, how useful are these laws and all these theories? How do you use them? How can they be put together to solve and explain other phenomena? So that gives the applied side. So this is done in all our math and science subjects especially. The principle we use is that we teach them the subject discipline so that they can do the subject and use the knowledge. So these are the key guiding principles. So when all our teachers design their teaching strategy, that will naturally lead to a natural state where students naturally get involved and engage in the studies. I hope that helps. Thank you.
It seems to me there are many questions, so I will summarize. Yeah. Yeah.
My name is Sarah Han. I am a CEO of a sugaring company. We make this knowledge really sweet to our customers. I'd like to ask a question about teaching these kids in advance, the levels that they will take the next, but they're taking these courses early, right? In Korea, we have this early educations. For example, kindergarten students take mathematics in elementary school, and elementary school kids, they take middle school mathematics and science. And one of the side effects of these is they do not have interest. They lose their interest in the actual courses that they're taking. And they ignore the education they are getting in a public school because they already know what they are being taught at school. So what do you think some of the benefits of early education? And I'd like to ask another question. This is about the benefits that these kids have in their career path. If they have to redo the same courses, even though they excel in grades in university, is there any other ways that they can take short-term courses? For example, early graduation and go to graduate level courses early and stuff like that. Thank you very much.
More questions? Okay.
Hello, my name is Minji Lee, and I am a student from KAIST Institute of Gifted Entrepreneurs, and I'm currently a 10th grader in Korean high school. Well, I think I'm seeing a little bit too big picture of it, but I was very jealous while I was hearing the lectures given from the two speakers, since in many Korean high schools, I think it's a bit different because we have different education systems, and it's not yet so much established in Korea. But one thing I thought is that it's not totally impossible for Korea to adapt these kinds of institutes in the country of Korea. But the last thing I thought is that an inseparable part of Korean education is the private education that is currently ongoing, and the government is paying too much attention on it. So maybe that's government trying to decrease the amount of private education is one of the barriers of us not being able to establish these kinds of institutes in Korea. They think that if these kinds of institutes are made in Korea, it'll increase private education too much, which is not good for the country itself, so they're kind of refraining from making it. So I want to ask, what is the best mediation point between the gifted education and the private institute problem that is ongoing in Korea? And I'd like to specifically hear answers from Professor Min too, since he's taking part in the Korean education system. Thank you.
지금 두 번째 질문하신 분에 대해서 팩트만 포커스를 다시 한번 좀 정리해 주시죠. 지금 질문만 정확하게.
그러니까 사교육을 너무 많이 조장한다는 이유로 많은 특성화 고등학교나 영재학교들을 세우는 데 있어서 우리나라가 어려움을 겪고 있는데, 이 사교육 문제와 고등학교를 세우는 것 사이에 이렇게 적절한 타협점이 어디라고 생각하시는지 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
In Singapore, we have no private schools, but we know the advantage of the private school. So we create the independent schools. So how does independent school work? There is a component where the government give the funding, like they give to many other schools. On top of that, we can collect higher fees from the student. For those who cannot afford because they are poor, the government guarantee them the money. On top of this, we can get funding from like endowment. We can have endowment fund from organizations. Now, how does the independent school work? There are many types of independent schools in Singapore. We have about, including ours, I think about 14. The other 13 have to follow a national curriculum. We are different. We have our own curriculum. But what advantage these independent schools have is that the principals and the board are free to hire and fire the teachers. They can select and employ the teachers. While at the national level, the recruitment of the students are done centrally and posted, which is probably quite similar in many places. So these are two aspects which are helpful. Now, because of the better and larger autonomy that we have, we find that we can do a lot more things. In other words, we have less rules to follow. So that is one way I think we have succeeded for, I think, more than 20 years now. And therefore, all our independent schools now are doing very well. Yeah, I hope that helps.
I think you were asking about how the students sort of drift away because the courses are a little let me turn that off, a little repetitive, and they already, is that what you were asking? Well, I think the benefit of early education is going to be selective. It's for certain students, and those who, and I think you were describing this a little bit, is that there are students who just need to. It's easy for them. For example, in mathematics, and when the math becomes repetitive and it's not moving fast enough, they become distracted. Students tend to become behavior problems in that. I mean, that's certainly what we see, and that's the purpose of our program, of course, is to bring those kinds of students, those really who are ready for a significant challenge, but the system, the public education system, can't provide that, or won't provide that. I'm not sure what the correct answer is, but it's just because, I mean, if you look at a state like Texas that is very populous, and to try to provide individualized education to all the students is just, it's not possible. And so those students need to find some experience that will keep them interested and focused and moving ahead. So I don't see any downside to it at all, other than the fact that it's difficult to provide that widely, just because of the expense. But no, our experience of the quarter century now is that it's very effective to do that, and we're taking that highest step. It's not an enhanced high school course. We're just putting them into a university mathematics course, for example, and they flourish, they blossom. So it's very positive.
예, 시간이 많지 않기 때문에 저 뒤쪽으로 좀, 저 뒤에, 저쪽으로 좀 가시죠. 요점만 좀 질문하시면 좋겠습니다. 예.
네, 저는 서울여대에서 경영학을 강의하고 있는데요. 아까 이제 그 두 분 발표하신 게 보면은 과학과 수학을 베이스로 해가지고 이제 전문성을 갖춘 그 영재를 기르는 걸로 돼 있는데, 혹시 그 예술 분야 쪽에서 영재 교육 프로그램들이 어떻게 되고 있는지 그 두 나라에서 예를 좀 듣고 싶습니다.
Some other questions? Other questions? 예, 그 옆에.
Yeah, my name is Un Leung from Cambodia. So it's really hard to talk about Cambodia as a poor developing country, but I just would like to see whether if Cambodian were going to adopt or creating some sort of this kind of school, where should we start? I would like to just give a small background of the situation and would like to seek your advice on that. So we have a very small private educations which provided in English as a medium of instruction, in which quality is quite good, but targeted only the minority population of the elite. And then we have a mass high school, which is very poor conditions and offers in our Cambodian language. But we saw that among those high school offered in the public school, which is poor, the system also are not good. But we saw some individual who really outperform within those poor system. And government has not done anything about how to promote such school. So in your opinion, what direction should we opt for if we choose to have such, for example, one a school like this, whether we should promote in terms of public school or whether we should encourage private or private high school which already in a good shape? Thanks very much.
You got it?
I'll try to help because I'm not familiar with the context, but I'll share the Singapore experience. We first introduced our gifted education program, not maths and science, but general, in 1985. And we have some schools that has got gifted classes with the other students in the school. Now we have specialized gifted schools where the whole school focus, in my case, maths and science. We have another school called the School of the Arts. They actually focus on the arts. And we have another School of the Sports, for those who are talented in sports. Now, let me share before 1985 as a nation how we actually promote some of this pocket of excellence. We call it, I think the US system, the pull-out system, where because we are very small, so we have some programs that are organized at the national level, because I'm the vice president of Singapore Mathematical Society, so maybe I explain this. We first start with some national maths competition for a start, and we get students to participate, and then we identify this talent together. And then we come together maybe during the holidays, right? You call it summer programs, where they provide some programs for them to learn something beyond the classroom. Now, that helps us identify the talent. Then next, what do you do with them? So these programs will ensure. So the limitation to this program is that it's pull out. The space and time for them to come together is limited. Therefore, there is a limit to what you can do. But that's the first step. Second, in Singapore, we have various groups of non-profit organizations that promote, for example, Singapore Mathematical Society, mathematics across the whole nation. We provide workshops for teachers to train teachers. We provide workshops for parents to get them familiar, what they can do at home to help, introduce mathematical concepts. What are the things they should not do, like early entry are necessary and so on. So there are different levels of efforts by various groups of people that can help to start off with. So we actually became independent in 1965, and then we built on slowly. So it's only in the 1980s that we become more focused and more structured and systematic. Yeah. So that took us many years. I hope that helps.
There are a number of residential high schools in the U.S. that specialize in the arts. I think there's an Alabama school and so on. And some of the math and science high schools have an equal arts program. Because my university has been so renowned in the fine arts, there's a plan on the table to create the Texas Academy of Fine Arts, whatever it may be, but it becomes a financial and political issue, and it remains on the table. But we haven't ignored it. We recognize that there are gifted students in that area too. So it's a good question.
시간 질문은 더 있겠습니다만 개별적으로 마친 다음에 해주시고 제가 이제 마무리를 하겠습니다. 오늘 좋은 발표를 해주시고 또 시간이 많지 않아서 충분히 이제 토론할 수 있도록 마련해서 죄송하게 생각합니다만 마지막으로 정리를 하면서 저는 이런 생각을 해봅니다. 이제 교육의 본질이 뭘까? 그건 한 사람의 변화라고 생각합니다. 그 인디비주얼이 가지고 있는 그 포텐셜을 어떻게 변화시켜 나가서 미래의 그 역량을 최대로 발휘할 수 있도록 해주느냐의 이 이슈라고 생각하니까 여러 가지 영재 교육에 대한 이슈들이 있겠습니다만, 그러나 개인의 역량들을 우리 사회가 보듬어주고 격려해주고 키워주는 일은 매우 중요하다고 생각합니다. 저는 아직도 우리나라에서는 영재 교육을 받고서 그것이 이제 의과대학이나 법과대학으로 가는 문제점들이 있습니다만, 아직 통계적으로도 그냥 이 낮은 그 퍼센테이지가 한 20%, 한 30% 정도밖에는 이공계로 순수하게 이공계로 안 가는 문제가 있습니다. 아까 이제 싱가포르는 이제 미국에서 85%가 이제 가는 거에 비해서는. 그러나 저는 우리 젊은 이 단원 학생들에게 기대가 있습니다. 이제 수학 쪽만 하더라도 작년에는 국제올림피아드, 수학올림피아드에서 1등을 했습니다. 올해는 2등을 했습니다. 근데 이제 수학의 노벨상인 필드상은 IMO에서 올림피아드에서 메달을 탄 친구들이 거의 요새 받고 있습니다. 그래서 저는 우리 젊은 애들의 미래가 매우 기대된다 하는 차원에서 이들이 잘 발전할 수 있도록 우리가 더 관심 가져주고 또 키워주는 일을 해나갔으면 좋겠습니다. 근데 한 가지 이제 우리가 더 이제 생각해 볼 것은 이 영재들이 제대로 발전하기 위해서 긴 호흡으로 바라봐야 된다고 생각합니다. 이번에 노벨 물리학상을 탄 힉스 교수도 49년 만에 받았거든요. 그 상상력만 가지고 받았습니다. 예견을 해서 받았거든요. 예, 그와 같이 긴 호흡으로 영재들의 그 발전을 우리가 읽어줘야 된다고 생각을 하고 있고, 또 어제도 바라크 존 총리가 그 기본 그 주제 발표에서 말씀하신 것처럼 우리 사회에 더욱 필요한 게 열린 교육 문화라고 생각합니다. 결국은 어떤 위계 질서에서 벗어나서 토론과 논쟁을 마음껏 할 수 있느냐. 이스라엘은 이 군대에서도 계급이 장성과 소위 쫄병이 디베이트 할 수 있는 나라라고 하는 그런 문화가 오늘의 이스라엘을 만들어지 않았나 생각을 하고, 그래서 어제도 이제 그 바라크 총리께서도 그 젊은이들의 이의 제기를 거부하지 말아라. 이게 이제 기성세대들에게 주시는 말씀입니다. 그래서 우리 가정에서 또 학교에서 또는 직장에서 이런 토론 문화가 어떤 계급이나 위계 질서를 넘어서서 우리가 활발하게 전개될 때 우리의 미래가 있고 창의성이 바로 거기에서 나오지 않을까. 결국 창의성은 저 디베이트 문화에서 나온다고 생각합니다. 그래서 아무튼 우리 영재들이 오늘 주신 그런 말씀들을 기반으로 해서 우리나라에도 새로운 그 교육의 문화를 만들어 가는데 여기 참석하신 분들이 앞으로도 더 크게 기여해 주길 기대하면서 이것으로 모든 순서를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.